Greetings everyone, and welcome back to Noctilucant's Abyss of Ominous Musical Relics. It's Halloween today. It's just my favorite time of the year. It's the really special time of the year where you watch horror movies and you listen to really dark, well, I always listen to dark music, but you listen to even more dark music and you really immerse yourself in the season and the whole atmosphere of Halloween and autumn and autumn transition slowly into winter. It's a really special time of the year, and I've always felt something special around this year. Even when I was a little kid, it was my favorite time of the year, and it's a year I look forward to every year. And for the past couple of years of doing vlogging, I have thought about doing some sort of Halloween special, or just talking about Halloween music or whatever. So found a little motivation today to do something, so here we go. This is Noctilucant's Spooktacular tunes to survive the Halloween season. Alright, so let's get into it then, shall we? Yeah. So this is a brand new release, just came out I believe about a month ago. It was released by 8th Tower Records, and this compilation was curated by 8th Tower's own Raphael Pezzella. It is The Beyond. Music inspired by the Lucio Fulci Death Trilogy. In case you don't know Lucio Fulci, he was an Italian director who was born in the 1920s. And in the late 70s, he reached a cult-like status and became famous or infamous, depending on how you look at it, for his very graphic gore films, such as The City of the Living Dead, The House by the Cemetery, Zombie, and, although I don't own it, another really great one is The Beyond. These films relied heavily on gore and very intense and dramatic killings, which, looking back at them now, they may seem corny in a way, but at the time they were very innovative and very new to the film industry. And for that, he has been remembered as really a pioneer in the horror and the gore genre, and of course, the zombie subgenre too. I first saw Lucio Fulci's movies when I was in my late teens, and I think the inspiration for checking them out, of course, was the Resident Evil video games, which I was a huge fan of throughout the 90s, and although I was aware of zombie films even before playing those games, it just, after, playing through the games and obsessing over them, it just made sense to go ahead and, of course, just check out the movies that, inspired that kind of stuff. I mean, I used to have Zombie on VHS tape back in the late 90s, but I sold it, when DVDs took off in the early 2000s, and I've, since had this for many years. I actually had different versions too, but this version's just fine right here. The thing about these movies is they don't rely so much on great acting or a great plot or storytelling. It's just pure atmosphere, really. The dramatic killing scenes and just the pace of the movies and just the very atmospheric dark synth music, which was composed by Fabio Frizzi and Walter Rizzati throughout these movies, is just very unique and very special. And it, although you can kind of find traces of that music in more modern music genres, it's I've never heard an artist that's really totally reproduced that music and done something that just sounds exactly like it. This compilation, which as I said has just recently come into my collection, did a trade with Raphael for some of my Noctilucant CDs, and he sent me this, and I was very happy to get it in my hands. I was really excited when I saw him announce this on Facebook. I was like, wow, it's super cool, because I think it's cool to see dark ambient artists being inspired by that kind of stuff, because I feel like it's a huge sort of kind of untouched ground in the dark ambient scene, and not a lot of people have really dived into that whole zombie lore and all that kind of stuff. Not too much anyway. So this album is very diverse, and it is sort of a strange mixture of basically dark ambient, drone music, electroacoustic music, and even some kind of prog rockish kind of stuff. It is interesting because not a whole lot of the songs actually sound, exactly like the music that Fabio Frizzi and Walter Rizzati wrote for those movies. It's definitely inspired by it, but it doesn't sound exactly. I think that's a very interesting characteristic of this compilation. I went into this thing kind of thinking it was going to be, a whole compilation of, music that totally sounded like that, and my God, I would have been just totally stoked on that. But this is even possibly more interesting because it kind of takes that dark, atmospheric, melodic synth sound that those artists were infamous for, and it kind of channels it through this dark ambient filter, and you get something that's arguably even more darker than dark ambient usually is. Another nice surprise with this disc was there was a lot of artists on here I have never heard of. In fact, just looking at the track listing right now, the only artist on here that I know is Klub, which I believe is an Italian artist, but don't hold me to that, I could be wrong. But I only knew the artist Klub, but outside of his couple contributions, there's also an artist named Mario Lino Stincate, someone named Bad Girl, Progetta No Name is another artist, Naresh Ran, and that is it. There's just a couple different artists who are on this compilation, and that's, cool in itself that it's only a couple artists, but considering the fact that there's only a couple artists on it, it's not so much a compilation as it is a split album between all these artists. So obviously now that I've listened to this compilation, I have a lot of other artists to go investigate and check out, but I will say this right now, one thing I dislike about this compilation, though, is kind of the fact that there only is a couple artists on here. It would have been much more interesting if there was, a true compilation where there was several different artists, each tackling perhaps a track from those old soundtracks or something, or just, creating music that was inspired by that. But like I said, there's only a couple artists on here, so it's, in all actuality, it's actually a split release. Anyway, this was quite a cool little compilation, split album, whatever you want to call it. I'm just going to keep calling it a split album, but I'll probably accidentally call it a compilation album. But very cool stuff, and it has artwork which is clearly inspired by the artwork from the Beyond movie, which is oh man, if you've never seen The Beyond, just a great film. Very, again, very atmospheric, just very dark and twisted, and there's a lot of parts of it don't really make sense, and I think part of that's also because I've only seen the English dubbed version. I think if I actually saw the original Italian version, perhaps it'd be a little bit more easier to understand things, maybe, I don't know. So I'll have to look out for that, maybe I could find a version of it. So there's the back cover with all the artists, and as you can see, there's only a few artists represented on here, and if you know any of these artists, definitely let me know what some of their other music is like, because I'd be very curious. And on the inside here we have a clock. On the inside there's this clock, and there's a tray card. Then the inside here we just have some, pretty basic information about Lucio Fulci and his career, and it's his influence on, the Italian movie industry and just, horror movies in general. So, very cool stuff. This is definitely, I think, a record I will always play around this time of the year, or just, when I'm in the mood for that. Just, horror-inspired, zombie-ish, devilish, just that kind of stuff, really cool stuff. Yeah, great stuff. And, again, definitely check it out if you're into Lucio Fulci, any of his movies, or just dark ambient, drone, electroacoustic, and even, like I said, some kind of prog rockish type stuff here and there too. Just really cool stuff. So definitely check it out. That is The Beyond, music inspired by the Lucio Fulci Death Trilogy. Alrighty then, we're continuing on. We actually have another Lucio Fulci related item to talk about here. This is the Zombie soundtrack. Yes, this was released by Death Waltz Recordings back in 2012, and I want to say I bought it right around that same time frame too. So this is my memories of buying this record. I bought this sort of on a whim back then because I've always enjoyed and absolutely just loved the main theme from Zombie, and if you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. It is a immensely dark and just atmospheric piece which plays several times throughout the movie, and it just it sets the tone so well whenever the zombies are rising from the ground, just wreaking havoc and killing people. It's an amazing, just dark synth piece, which when I stop and think about all the dark synth music, that I've heard over the years, just nothing come close to even touching this. It is just an immense masterpiece, and I think as far as, technically speaking, it's nothing really, special about it. It's just very atmospheric, just amazing, and it's one of those songs where, if someone made a 2-hour loop, I could probably just sit there listening to it and be perfectly content with that. And when I bought this record, I I actually hadn't watched Zombie in a really long time. It had been a number of years, so I went into it buying it thinking like, oh, okay, you know, this is gonna be a whole, you know, record full of that dark atmospheric synth music, kind of overlooking the fact that actually, this is what makes it so ridiculous, that the bulk of the music in this recording is actually like, I guess like weird like Caribbean music or something. It's I don't know how to describe it, and the reason for that is because the movie takes place in some, you know, Caribbean island or some, I don't remember, I can't remember now offhand, but whatever. It takes place like an island mostly, and that's the kind of music. It's most of the music on this is very upbeat and very not dark at all, except for the zombie main theme, which is the very last song on the record. The rest of it is, quite honestly, kind of not good. It doesn't appeal to my taste at all. But the zombie, the main theme itself is just, it's immense, and it's a song I have to play, you know, just so often, just to, it's just great stuff. I can never get enough of it. So, in all actuality, I wish this record had actually just been the zombie theme just looped for 30 minutes on each side. That would have been amazing, but not the case. And I think what actually happened when I bought this, I mistook the Zombie soundtrack for the Beyond soundtrack, because the Beyond soundtrack is in fact like a whole soundtrack of just really dark synth music, and it's fantastic. I love that soundtrack. And I remember at the same time they had the Beyond vinyl for sale, and I should have bought it. I fucking should have bought it, but I didn't, and nowadays it's like going on Discogs for like 80, 90 bucks, and well, I'm just not gonna own it now, that's all there is to it. And if memory serves me, I paid like 50 bucks for this too. But part of the reason for that was because it came with a poster, which you can kind of see behind me here. And if you've watched some of my older videos, you've undoubtedly seen that poster. But it's the same things on the cover here, and it also is autographed by Fabio Frizzi and John Kerr, who was that particular artist who did this artwork. So there we have the front cover of Zombie, or Zombie 2 as it was known in Italy, because it was an unofficial sequel to George A. Romero's Night of the Living Dead. In the back cover we have just some, basically a small little, you know, story from Fabio Frizzi, you know, recalling the time frame and what was going on, his relationship with Lucio Fulci. And then on the inside we have the track title, which is just called Sequence 1, Sequence 2, and of course Sequence 8 is the zombie main theme, the one I love the best. But yeah, pretty, you know, normal stuff there. And here's more information about the movies and the music. And yeah, then this is the part I suppose I like the best. It comes on this blood red vinyl. And yeah, I love it. Love it, love it, love it, love it, love it, man. Cool stuff. You know, like I said, I kind of paid a lot for this, and the bulk of it isn't really good. It's not. I'm just being honest with you. But, you know, definitely still a record to get out, and if nothing else, just play that, the main theme on repeat. Just pick the needle up and keep playing it over and over again, or whatever you gotta do. But just a great theme, and just, for me personally, it's just something that really inspired me to dabble with synthesizers and just make, you know, dark synth music myself. So, you know, you can never tell exactly how you're gonna influence someone when you make a piece of music, but, you know, as time goes by, everything can be inspiring, I guess. So it's very cool. You know, great movie. Actually, I have it playing in the background there. Maybe you noticed that already if you are familiar with the zombie movie. But great movie, okay soundtrack. Well, anyway, that's Zombie. Alright, so we're leaving Italy and we're heading east to Japan. This is the Castlevania 1 through 3 soundtrack. I bought this CD back in the late 90s at a once local, convention called Gen Con. It was your all-around, you know, nerdy, geeky convention that had, you know, like Star Wars stuff, comic books, anime, video games, and, you know, just anything nerdy and geeky that someone like me absolutely loved. And I first went to Gen Con, I think in 1998, and it was just like a sensory overload, 'cause everything I'd ever loved was basically suddenly right in front of me. And or to being a huge fan of video game soundtracks at the time, I found several soundtracks that were missing from my collection, and I found them at an affordable price, and I was just like so ecstatic. It was incredible. And then I want to say Gen Con went till about 2002 or something like that, and then they moved it to, I believe, Philadelphia, and I've never been back there since then because I lived in Philadelphia. But it was a super cool, little convention that I really miss, and I bought a lot of really good anime and video game soundtracks back then. And this is one that has stuck with me throughout the years, and just one that I've absolutely loved. But as sort of more of a backstory, I grew up in the late 80s and early 90s with the Castlevania games, and I absolutely adored them. And the music, again, was that dark, atmospheric synth music, which, for all intents and purposes, sounds like it may very well have been inspired by a lot of those old horror movies from the late 70s and early 80s. And I mean, of course, this music had to be sort of converted down to 8-bit Nintendo music, which was all, system could handle at the time. So it's very simplistic music, but it carries a lot of atmosphere and just, for me personally, just an immense amount of nostalgia whenever I hear it, and I actually listen to this music pretty often. Yeah, I mean, I got tons of fond memories of playing video games back in the late 80s. I mean, it's just, man, that was my thing, I was always a very shy person growing up, so, I had to, I found a lot of comfort in the characters and the worlds that video games offered me, and, Castlevania, Final Fantasy, all those games that were so popular in the late 80s and early 90s, like that stuff just resonated with me in a deep, deep level. And although I don't play video games as much as I used to, I mean, just all those old ones from that time period are still very, very special to me. Although I committed the ultimate sin about 12, 13 years ago when I actually sold all of my old video games, all the old Super Nintendo, and early PlayStation ones, just because I wasn't really playing them that much at the time, and I needed some money for rent and all that kind of stuff, and I just got a lot of money for them, but oh my god, I would do anything to play some of those games again. And some of that stuff, like the first three and Castlevania games, they're all on like the Xbox network, and I played them again. I still love them. It's great stuff, and but still, there's something special again about owning that physical product. And a lot of people will tell you that a lot of the old Nintendo cartridges might not even work and stuff like that. But still, it's just I should have kept them, just for pure nostalgia, if nothing else. Just great stuff, so many memories, and just again, the music just brings me all back to that time frame, just those feels, as a child, just that dark atmospheric music, and just great stuff. And I love getting the CD out around October and Halloween especially. Just great stuff. I mean, it's simplistic music, but it's dark. It just offers so much emotion. And at least for me personally, and I don't know if other kids did this, but when I was a little kid playing these games, I would actually, I don't know if this sounds weird, but I would actually write words to these songs. And the reason why I would do that is because you'd be doing a level and you would just hear this 2-minute song or whatever just looped over and over and over again. So it would get to the point where your mind would just create words to these melodies. And I did it for several of these songs, and it was just, I wish I would have saved those, because I actually had them in a notebook and stuff like that, and it would be funny to look at it now and see if it was actually good, like the lyrics I wrote for whatever. But the cool thing about this music is that a lot of these songs in here, they would reappear in later Castlevania games in different forms, and of course a lot of artists have done their own remixes of it, new versions, and perhaps one of the coolest things that happened was the True Werewolf, a black metal band from Finland, did a cover of Bloody Tears a couple of years ago, and it's just fucking awesome. So here's the actual front cover of this, and the funny thing about this is I don't actually know what it's called because it's all in Japanese. And there you can see the back cover as well with all the track listing, and although it only has 33 tracks, there's several more than that. There's probably close to 70. It's just a lot of these songs are so short that they grouped them together as one single, 5-6 minute track. So that's kind of what's going on there. But it's actually all the music from the first 3 Castlevania games. And this was released by a bootleg company called Ever Anime, and they were sort of infamous in the 90s and I guess probably early 2000s for basically bootlegging, soundtracks from Japanese video games and anime. And I guess the reason for that is just because a lot of those soundtracks, if you bought the direct Japanese imports, they were very expensive, which I did a lot back in the day as well. But these ones, this Ever Anime, and there's a couple other ones too, I want to say, they faithfully recreated them, but they're fucking bootlegs. So someone was getting ripped off somewhere, but I was getting a good CD for like $15 only, as opposed to paying probably 30 or 40 for this otherwise, which whatever. So yeah, that's what's going on there. So yeah. So anyway, there's the front cover once more with various heroes from the first 3 Castlevania games. We have, of course, Simon Belmont from Simon's Quest, Castlevania 2. We have I don't know the Castlevania guys. Richter Belmont, I think. I don't know. Whatever, it doesn't matter. And then we got various text in Japanese here. More text and track listing, all that kind of stuff here. And then we have, I don't know who that's supposed to be, but yeah, I don't know. It's not one of the Castlevania characters, but she's in there anyway. She's a schoolgirl who's like, yeah, give me Castlevania, yeah! So yeah, she's in there, and yeah, that's a booklet. And again, I don't actually know what this CD is called, so I guess I'll have to do a little digging around after I get done with this video. But again, I love old video game soundtracks from the late 80s, early 90s, the mid 90s. Just great stuff, just pure nostalgia for me. It may not resonate on the same deep level for someone who wasn't alive or didn't play those games at the time, but for me, it's just great stuff. Just great listening to it. It's I'm 40 years old now, and I've listened to stuff for over 20 years. Oh, geez, over 30 years now. So it's probably pretty safe to say this is music I'm gonna take to the grave. Alright guys, well there's some quick holiday picks for you, and if you have not heard them before, obviously I strongly encourage you to check them out. All cool stuff, definitely fits the mood and the atmosphere of the season, and just cool music to check out if you haven't done before. If you have heard before, I would really be curious to hear your opinions, of course. Not just of the music, but the earlier stuff, the movies. I'd be really curious to see what you think of those movies. And if you've played Castlevania, hell, I'd love to hear what you have to say about it. Because man, like I already said, I just love that old Castlevania stuff. So cool. So definitely let me know what you think. And as usual, guys, thank you so much for checking out my channel, checking out this video, and I hope you enjoyed it. Until next time, cheers and fears and many beers, and alright, happy Halloween. See you next time. Yeah.